Hi, Getaway 2020. I'm Daniel, or Apollo, as many of you know through the Getaway, and I am with James Bosch, licensed and marriage therapist. Welcome back, James.
Howdy.
Today, today we'll be discussing the general family members. So this is for all of our family members who are aunts, uncles, grandparents, or even those children of burn survivors, maybe adult children of burn survivors now. So anyone who fits into another family member role. And this is an interesting topic because this one's going to be a little different than some of the other videos that we've already done in the series. So James, we'll get right into it. What are some concerns, topics, or comments that you've heard from family members of burn survivors? I think maybe some children of a burn survivor or any other family member that you've talked to.
So I want to break this into two pieces. So I think the first, like, we should talk about at the time of the injury, right? So at the time of the injury, the best friend, the community friend, the aunt, the colleague at work, all these people that are connected but aren't in necessarily in the inner intimate info loop of the family circle, right? There is an overwhelming desire to do something, and often they don't know what. And a common mistake is to contact the survivor or the family member or the friend and say, oh my God, let me know what you need. I'm so sorry, let me know what you need. Thinking of you, let me know what you need. They often don't know what they need. So then there's this frustration from the asker. Oh, I just want to help, but I don't know what to do. They can't tell me, So there often I find that is a dynamic that happens, right? I mean, I've experienced it too when a loved one that is not an immediate family member is has a tragedy, like a death of a spouse or something. You want to help, but they also are not communicating, right? Because it's they're dealing with their own grief. Yeah, so there's an awkwardness there that happens as people want to help and don't know how, and people that are in the trauma don't know what they need exactly and don't know how to ask for it. So that dynamic happens, right? And it can be awkward. And I think the number one thing is for these loved ones that are on this outer circle to understand that, to be ready to help, to let the people know that they're available and willing and ready to help. And then periodically check in, because at different points in healing, they'll maybe be more open to talk. So just being patient and being available. The other way you could help is see if there's any financial stuff or community involvement and support that needs to be happening on an outer level. So that's that. So, but then when you just in general, I think these loved ones deal with the same things that family members do that don't know how to ask the survivor about their burn story, ask them how they're doing, also are out with them in public and maybe feel awkward because they notice the stares or they notice what's happening. And I think, again, it's just figuring out how to get educated about burns and how to talk to your friend or loved one about their burns, and just ask open-ended questions. And many times us burn survivors are actually really happy to talk about it, but people don't ask us the questions because they feel like it's too intimate or too awkward or might hurt our feelings. But no, I mean, most burn survivors I know that are further along in their healing, rather than just struggling with making sense of the story themselves right after the burn, but most times further along out in their recovery, much more appreciate that people ask them what's going on or ask them how they would like their burn story talked about, or and just to be I would say empathetically curious.
That is a great phrase, James, because I think when I think about this category, and I'm so glad that you included that friend, that best friend category in there, or someone who maybe isn't their primary caregiver, but is still very much a part of their life and has a great relationship with this burn survivor. And what I see are two opposites. One, that grandparent or that friend that they don't see all the time, that is all they bring up. So anytime they see them, is like, oh, your burn, is your burn okay? Oh my gosh. And they're so hyper aware
Very
that that
true.
becomes their whole relationship
Yeah.
with the burn survivor. And then the opposite of that is they never bring it up at all. So there's
Yeah.
no consideration. They think they burn, and especially this is like post maybe a couple months, a year after recovery, they think the burn survivor should be completely fine. Oh, that still bothers you? Why does that still bother you? Why do you still have issues regarding your burn? You're all healed, aren't you? So maybe if you can talk about some of those
Yeah,
experiences.
yeah, I just was dealing with this the other day with somebody who was like having to feel like because their burns weren't visible, but they were really still emotionally struggling with them, feeling like they had to prove to people how bad they are. Like I would, do I have to show you my burns, or, like for you to take serious that I'm really going through it still, because a lot of people will do that, what you said. You should be more, oh, you're fine now, or you look great, or I don't see any scars, or your scars aren't that bad, or oh, honey, you've always had such a great personality. Don't worry about your face. All like really stupid things, right? Really awkward things people say, right? And so I think, it's like helping, yeah, figuring out how to ask questions, how to be more empathetic, and how to, it's people like with, people don't realize the complexities of burn recovery, especially in the regards of chronic pain, that sometimes some survivors have this long-term chronic pain based on their type of injury they had or where it was. And that chronic pain is an invisible thing to other people, but it is a debilitating thing to the survivor, and it limits them from being able to do a lot of things and find enjoyment in things that they used to do with those people. And so you get a lot of hurt feelings. I don't see why you don't want to come around anymore. Or we used to do this all the time. And so finding a way I think you have to teach survivors how to tell people what they're going through in a way that can be heard, because we can't reach all those people with this
I think
video.
that's
Like, yeah.
that is so true, and I think we say this a lot of time in groups, and we say this a lot of time when we're at events. Everyone's survivor journey is different, right? So it's about being educated and educating yourself as this family member or friend of a burn survivor on what a burn survivor may go through, and then following up and asking questions. I mean, like, would you like to talk about this, and opening up that door, right? And that's going back to the recurring theme of just communication. um, with that being said, I think we're kind of already going to our second question of what are some tips that you can give to the family member of a burn survivor that may help them in working with them, and maybe and I think we're talking very general, like they're not bothered by this, but maybe they are concerned, right? So maybe they are that concerned person who don't know what to do, and it's the acute or even post discharge, they don't know what to do for their loved one, and they are very concerned. So what are some tips you can offer them?
Well, number one is there's nothing more exhausting than an always concerned friend. So lighten it up a little bit, and vary the things you talk about. Like you said, don't always ask about the burn. Don't always say I'm worried about you, right? And try to bring some normalcy. I mean, these are the people we want to have fun, in our lives in a normal way, right? So that's the number one, is don't always be that overly concerned friend. Two is to ask open-ended questions and be curious about their experience. Say, what's wrong with saying, I'm scared to ask you about your burn because I don't want to, say the wrong thing. So tell me how to talk about your burn. What is it? How do you like to talked about? You know, what's wrong with having those like honest conversations, right? And so, and I would just say to the friend too, is to think about some hard things you've dealt with in your life and what helped you.
Great advice. For more information on the Lisa and Rich Burn Foundation, some of our programs and services, or even what some of the recurring topics are that burn survivors may be going through, or family members of burn survivors, please check out our website at www.aarbf.org. Thank you, James, again for being a part of this series for the Getaway. We really appreciate your time. And until next time, guys, bye bye.
Yeah, have fun.